Hi, everybody, and welcome to Leadership Labs, an online experience for marketplace leaders like you who want to hone their skills and do a better job inspiring the people they work with. Our special guest today is my good friend, Sangram Vajre. Sangram previously ran marketing at Pardot before co-founding Terminus in 2014. Terminus is actually ranked in the top 25 on Deloitte's technology Fast 500 list, which, as you know, is a really big deal. Sangram now serves as their chief evangelist, which he's going to explain in just a few minutes. He's the author of a couple of books, and he is the host of the daily podcast, FlipMyFunnel. Needless to say, there is a lot of great wisdom coming your way. And please make sure you stick around until the end, and I'll tell you how you can get a free resource for you and your team. And now, here's my friend Sangram.
Someone once asked me, Sangram, are you growing at the rate your company is growing? Said another way, he asked me, are you growing as fast as your company? And tell you what, at that point, I simply stopped in my tracks because I knew I wasn't growing as fast. But quite frankly, I was running with my pants on fire. I felt like I'm driving on a freeway with the wheels on fire, not knowing which direction I'm going, and at the same time I have to go as fast as possibly can, because if I don't, everything's going to fall apart. I was trying to hold on to everything I possibly could, but I knew everything was out of control. And I had to make an intentional choice that at this moment, if I don't become intentional about my personal growth, my company is no longer going to grow as fast as it's growing. If I don't make some choices, my family is not going to be together and strong as it needed to be. And if I don't focus on this at this very moment, no matter what my dreams, no matter what my aspirations are, I'm never going to achieve them, because this is the moment where I had to face the truth. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you feel just like me at the moment, where you don't feel you're growing as fast as you want to grow or as your company is growing. But if that's you, don't lose heart, because this message is for you. Today, I want to talk about belongship. And at the end of this talk, I will ask one question. And that one question literally has the power to change the trajectory of you as a leader and your organization. But first, let me give you a little backstory. About 3 years ago, I got an invitation. And boy, that invitation was from the best and the finest VC, a venture capitalist in the marketplace. He invited about 85 CEOs. And all of these CEOs out there were a total investment of $1 billion. In that room, that VC has invested $1 billion. And he said, Sangram, I want to have you come in and share with them about your company. So I'm like, great, I'm going to go talk about marketing, because that's my company, Terminus. We're a marketing software company. We grew the first year to $1 million, the next year to $5 million, the following year to 15. So we thought we were on a roll. But he said, no, Sangram, I want you to come here and tell how you did that. Not what you do as a company, but how you did that. My job was to tell the how story, not the what story. How is it that we hit these crazy milestones when less than 1% of the companies even have a survival chance? How is it that we became the best places to work when we were first-time founders? And more importantly, how is it that we are trying to defy the odds out there in the business place while we are just starting out? In short, he wanted me to tell the story of how we did level up as an organization in a sea of sameness. And I will never forget what he said. He said, Sangram, 95% of the businesses and the CEOs that you see here, they're going to fail. And only 5% of them are going to have a chance to build something great. And that's what you want to tell them. That's the story I want you to tell them. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell them a story of how we did this in mere 3 years that many organizations were just dreaming to be there. So here's the big idea. Without a community, you're simply a commodity. Let me say that again. Without a community, you're simply a commodity. This one idea has the power to change you as a leader and also your organization. So lean in a little bit for the next few minutes as I explain the difference between a commodity and a community. Because once you get this right, you'll recognize and you'll have a decision to make. The question I promised you in the beginning, I'm going to ask that question in the end. But the difference for you to understand what it means to be a commodity or a community is the difference that's going to help you begin the journey of how to become an organization that is focused on belongship. In a belongship-oriented organization, instead of your team feeling replaced by your customers for something cheaper, better, faster, your customers will feel like they are recognizing you for the excellence that you provide. Instead of your partners feeling like they're exchanged for something incrementally better, you're going to be feeling like you're trusted advisor for them. Instead of your team feeling they're limited by the title they have, they'll be celebrated for the gifts they have. And instead, for your stakeholders, which is not shareholders, by the way, stakeholders, everybody that is involved in it, feeling like they're ignored, they will feel heard. While in the commodity business, your employees, your customers, your partners, your stakeholders will feel replaced, exchanged, limited, and ignored. In a community-based business, your employees and your customers and your partners and your stakeholders, they all will feel recognized, trusted, celebrated, and heard. Let me bring you in on a conversation that I had with Brian Halligan, CEO of HubSpot. Brian said to me that they are building an entire industry conference called Inbound. Now guess what? They did not even trademark Inbound as their own conference, like a HubSpot conference. Most people go to Inbound because they know it's a community conference. Even though HubSpot is funding it, they are not the one with their names all over it. And that just shows the power of community. I'm gonna ask Brian, why are you doing that? He said to me, Sangram, the reason we're investing millions of dollars in building Inbound is because we don't want to worry about our competitors. We want to build a community of 20,000 plus raving fans who love us because we pour into them. And when any competitor out there is trying to build a product that is cheaper or faster, we're not worried about them because they will have to crawl the wall of 20,000 raving fans to come in and try to pitch a product to them. And that's the power of building a great community. So you might say at this point, Sangram, that sounds great. Maybe this is true for big brands. Maybe they can do it because they have the money. But how do I do because I have a small business or I have a small team? I don't know how to do that. Well, I got great news for you. The way you achieve belongship on your team, as a team leader, or as a business owner, or an executive in your organization, I have discovered that you need to have these 4 key attributes. I call it the PEAK framework. P-E-A-K, it's made up of these 4 attributes: picture of success, extreme focus, authenticity, and kindness. So for the next 10 minutes, grab a pen and paper as I'm going to quickly walk through practical examples how you can implement belongship culture in your organization with the PEAK framework. The first one is picture of success. With each one of them, I'm going to share a benefit and a risk. The benefit of having a picture of success is you're giving them a promised land. In our case, at Terminus, we talked about the idea of changing the way marketing and sales works. We flipped the funnel. We said the funnel that most people in sales and marketing will understand is wrong. It's actually upside down. So we called it the FlipMyFunnel movement. But if we didn't do that, the risk that we would have run into was clarity. People wouldn't know what we're talking about. Now imagine if you would have said, hey, you know what? We just do better marketing or better sales and marketing. Well, that's not memorable. That's not repeatable. Nobody's going to ever go and tell anybody that that's what Terminus does. But 3 years into it, we have 100,000 people going through events and podcasts and all the content we create because they feel like they're part of a movement. They want to go from point A to point B. Now let's take an example of a nonprofit, Charity Water. Don't miss this because this is really big. What they did was they redefined the way you think about nonprofits. They said, you know what? You don't have to look at this as a nonprofit. We're going to give you a picture of this little kid who has a clean water in his hand, and in another hand, he has dirty water. That's the picture of success. And every dollar that you give me through this nonprofit is going to go to this kid because all the other ancillary stuff is going to be taken care of by all the funders and founders out there. So they made sure that people understood where their money was going, and they challenged the status quo. It's clear. So the question for you And write this down. The question for you, as you think about picture of success, is what is the promised land for your organization and for you as a leader? Now let's talk about extreme focus. Oh, I love this one, because extreme focus is where the best of us fail. Extreme focus, the benefit, if you get this right, is that you can paint your own narrative. You can tell where you're going. People around you will tell where you're going because you're so focused on it. And the risk, you know this well, the risk of not owning it, not being focused, is that you lose momentum. You lose your way of going about. Remember the time when you said, well, we're going to do this thing at a dinner table, but then 10 years later you see another company do it and you say, well, I had that idea. Well, I've done that too. The reason I didn't execute on it is because I didn't focus on it. And one of the best examples of extreme focus is Malala. She said something so profound that I hope everybody takes note of and takes to heart. And she is this little girl from Pakistan, from a little town where there was nothing for girls around education. And she said, and this is her focus, she said, one child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. Now that's powerful because she believed in an idea that every girl out there has the right to learn. In a place where nobody believed in her, she believed in that idea and she focused her entire life on that singular problem. So if you're working on more than one problem, I want you to reimagine your strategy, period. Peter Drucker, who wrote several books on leadership, he said in his Effective Executive book, he said that the best CEOs he surveyed are focusing on one priority at any given time, just one. So if they can focus on one, who are we to focus on hundreds? So write this question down. For extreme focus, what are you focused on that matters? What are you focused on that absolutely matters for your team? And take it to your team and answer it with them. You'll be surprised what you find out of that. The A in the peak framework is for authenticity. And I know authenticity is an overused word out there in the marketplace. Everybody says you want to be authentic. Guess what? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., you need to be authentic. Well, that's not going to happen if somebody makes that something that you need to do. Well, we all know the benefit and risk of it. The benefit of being authentic is that you build trust with people. And the risk of you not being authentic is that you lose credibility with other people. Let's look at another business-to-consumer brand. And we all might know Patagonia, an apparel brand, today with thousands of employees and fiercely loyal community. They became one of the world's most innovative company. Rose, the ex-CEO of Patagonia, said this, in moments of change, crisis, and uncertainty, to embrace Patagonia's core DNA, to double down on our activism. The revenue increases every time they take a stand on activism. I like this quote from my friend Jeff Henderson, who recently wrote the book For. He said, know what you're known for. Now, as a brand, as a company, as a leader, he says we should all ask this question. What are we known for? And more importantly, what do we want to be known for? In both cases, Patagonia or what Jeff Henderson wrote in his book For, the point is, you as a leader, as a company, you have to take a stand. And every time Patagonia did that, the revenue increased. It's actually in their filings, which is incredible. But you might still be saying, what do I do as a company? Well, let me tell you what we did at Terminus. For 6 years straight, we have never missed a Friday note. Meaning, no matter who's leading the company at any given point, we have multiple different CEOs and leaders in the organization, we have always sent a Friday note to our entire company. And it's not rah-rah, all the great success we had. It talks about the things that we failed at, and we celebrated failures. And the reason I share that is because today, literally today, you can start writing this to your entire organization, how you're doing. Because authenticity is not built on many different things that you just happen to do. It's actually done consistently when you're doing something every single week. So here's the question for you. What are you doing consistently that creates authenticity in your organization? Because whatever you do consistently is what's going to be reflected in your organization. Now let's talk about the squishy thing, kindness. It's the softest at all. Most people think that kindness is something for nonprofits or maybe for church thing. But I will tell you that as a business leader, kindness is something that you can double down on. Why? Because that can be your competitive advantage. That's where relationships are built. But what's interesting about this is that the risk of not having kindness is that you lose loyalty. And I'm going to share with you examples where you can see relationship happening at scale. At the same time, loyalty is where your company is thriving. At Terminus, we launched a program called Customer in the Flesh. Every single month, we'll bring in a customer in our office, either virtually or physically, and have them share their story. We'll have our entire company sit down and ask them questions how they're doing as a business leader. That is the single biggest driver of growth in our business. Now you might say, oh, you know what? No, it's marketing, it's sales, it's customer success. No. It's actually your customers. They're funding your business. And what's even more important is that when we bring a customer in the office and have them sit in front of the entire company where they can do Q&A, you know what that did? It helped the person at the front desk also connect with the person who is doing the payroll, also connected with the person who is actually doing the code, to the marketing person, to the salesperson. Everybody understood what our customers look like. Every one of them recognizes that that's the person we're building it for. They will run through walls for you. And what we realized, especially in this crazy time, is that retention is the new acquisition. The more customers stayed with us, our revenue increased because they used up buying more software from us. So I want you to recognize that kindness is actually a competitive advantage. Let me give you another example. Tom shoes. Now, some of you probably already have Tom shoes in your house. Now, the world doesn't need another shoe company. We all know that. But why is it that Tom shoes become so great? Why did it become a home brand in almost over 2 decades and people still buy it? Why is that happening? Well, because we know their business model. Their business model was you buy one Tom shoes and then somebody else around the world on the other side will get another pair of shoes because of your generosity. And that's how they created a fan base. Let me tell you, that is the reason why Tom shoes became the brand everybody knows. They actually are giving away 100 million shoes in 2020 and 2021. So if you're telling me kindness is not important, I want to tell you this right now. Kindness is Tom Shoe's competitive advantage. So write this down. This is a question for you if you're thinking about kindness. Which voices are you hearing? Are these voices that you're hearing are from peers in the office or actually from your customers? Because that will make all the difference for you. And here's the best part. Belongship is not just an idea, it's not just a philosophy for company and team leaders and organizations and business leaders, but it's for everyone who wants to create influence. And my research shows that when we deconstruct the greatest movements of our time and the leadership style of people of great importance and great influence like Dr. Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi and even Brené Brown right now, as you see, she's talking so openly about vulnerability, what I find is this. They're all applying the same principles of belongship. They all have a clear picture of success that people can buy into. They all are focused on that one thing that matters most to them. And they do the work with authenticity and kindness. So there you have it, the Peak Framework to create a community of belongship. Again, this is for leaders that want to level up. Because someone once said to me that, Sangram, are you growing as fast as your company is? But here's the funny thing, and I don't want you to miss this. This is the heart of this talk. If you nail picture of success and extreme focus, you have an opportunity to lead. No doubt about that, you do great as a business. If you nail picture of success and extreme focus, you have a great opportunity to lead. But if you nail authenticity and kindness, you have a community to lead. And when opportunity and community meets, that's when belongship begins. And as a leader, you might be wondering, what questions do I ask to figure out if we are in a commodity business or in a community business? Well, let me bring this home for you with these 4 questions. For a picture of success, You want to ask with yourself and your team. You don't have to be running an organization for it. You can do that with your team today. No matter if your team is the size of 1, maybe it's 5, maybe your entire organization. But you ask these 4 questions, and I promise you, you're going to find what's really in the hearts of your people. So for Picture of Success, the question is simply this: what is your promised land? Are you and your product getting replaced for features, or are you getting recognized for the excellence of what you provide? For Extreme Focus, here's the question: what are you focused on that matters? Have each one of your team member write it down. What matters? What are they working on that really matters? Meaning, are you and your products getting exchanged quite easily out there in the marketplace? Or are you becoming a trusted advisor in the marketplace? For authenticity, the question is quite simple. What are you doing consistently that creates authenticity? Are your employees feeling limited by their title, or they feel celebrated for the gifts they have? And then for kindness, this is really important. Which voices are you hearing? Are your stakeholders, which means your employees, your customers, your partners, your community at large, are they feeling ignored, or are they feel they're bought into it and they are heard? Let's face it, nobody wants to build a commodity, because none of us want to be a commodity. When you become a commodity, you'll be limited, you'll be ignored, you'll be exchanged, and even replaced. Since my invitation 3 years ago, I've shared this idea with hundreds of business owners, founders, and leaders. But here's the reality. Only the best of the best get it. And only the greatest of them will implement it. You know why? Because it's hard. And it's rewarding personally and for your business to help you stand out in a crowded marketplace, just like we did a few years ago. But the most important question, like I promised at the beginning, that you might want to write down, underline, bold, is this: are you building a community, or are you becoming a commodity? Because there is no neutral. Either you're building a community, or you just become a commodity. And this question is again for leaders of organization. This question is again for team leaders who have a team of 1 or a team of 5. This question is even for the people who are leading their family. You can use this for your own household. For us, for example, we have the Picture of Success that says, Vajres always make it through with God's love, grace, and truth. Vajres always make it through with God's love, grace, and truth. I share that because that's our picture of success. I say that because 20 years from now, that's what we want our kids to say and live life. Like, look, there's going to be love and grace, but we expect truth. And we want them to do that. And I challenge you to think about this, because that's the core of belongship. It's not just words, this idea of picture of success and extreme focus and authenticity and kindness. It's actually actions. And it all starts with you. Your team, your customers, your community, and even your family is counting on you to create a sense of belonging. If you're truthfully answering this question, you have begun the process of transformation. Belongship is about discovering the very essence of what you are as a leader. And your number one job is to create a community so you and your team never become a commodity.
Like I said at the top, a lot of good information coming your way. I love that guy. And I will never forget the first time I heard Sangram ask the question that he just asked all of us. Are you building a community, or are you slowly becoming a commodity? That is a great question to wrestle with, really, for any organization. And to help you answer that and to help your team wrestle with it, we have created a free resource for you and your entire team. Just go to the link at the bottom of your screen, and in this resource, you'll find some personal reflection questions as well as a team discussion guide. And if you'd like to hear more from Sangram on this topic, check out the May episode of the Andy Stanley Leadership Podcast, where we took an even deeper dive into some of today's content. As always, thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for the next edition of Leadership Labs. We'll see you then.